Hey there, I'm Lainey Lipsky, parenting coach and master teacher. Welcome to my free class. Stop the meltdowns and get cooperation from your strong-willed child without yelling, nagging, bribing, shame, or threats. I am totally psyched and honored that you're here. And I know you're super busy and your time is valuable, so I don't want to waste 1 minute of it. I totally get it. I'm a mom too. So I've got some great information for you, and I'm going to give it to you as fast as I can. It's going to take about 40 minutes. And if you need to pause the class for any reason, that's totally fine. Just keep the window open here so you can pick up where you left off, okay? All right, so that being said, let me just give you a few upfront guarantees. First of all, I want to assure you that I won't judge you or ask you to be perfect in any way. I'm a recovering perfectionist myself, and I do not do perfection over here. Also, I give you my word that everything I share with you is going to be practical and direct and to the point. I know you didn't come here for fluff, and I don't do fluff. And finally, I guarantee that by the end of class, you are going to feel empowered and clear in a way you may have never felt before. And at the very end, I have a free gift for you. So please just relax and stay for the whole class because you're about to discover exactly how to start enjoying life with your strong-willed child. All right, we cool? Great. Let's dive in. All right, let's talk about who this class is for. I designed it for parents who are loving, but they're frustrated and overwhelmed and they're worried about how things are going right now. Parents who want respect and cooperation without all the yucky stuff, all the yelling and the bribing and the nagging and the shame and the threats. Also, it's for parents who want to feel calmer, more in control, and happy again. And here's what we're going to cover. We're going to go over how to parent your strong-willed child like a ninja now. We'll talk about the unique traits of strong-willed kids, an approach to discipline them without breaking their little spirits, and how to be calmer and reclaim your sanity. We're also going to touch on how this approach will help you parent them in the long term. So it's for parents who want to raise their strong-willed children into being happy, successful, respectful, kind, and resilient adults with great, positive, loving, warm childhood memories. Also, we're going to go over how to build a happy family, even if you weren't raised in one. And just to let you know that you're in good hands, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a parenting coach and a master teacher. I have my degrees from Brown University and have multiple certifications as a parent educator. I'm also an author of a book called The Yelling Cure and a speaker at national conferences. I also practice yoga and meditation, and I have a background as an elite athlete and an athletic coach, and I weave all of that stuff into my parenting approach and into my parent coaching. Finally, I want to let you know that I am an imperfect mom, and I have two strong-willed kids myself, so I know what you're going through. Let's start off with a question. Is your child strong-willed? Let's take a look at that. Here are some traits of strong-willed kids, and you might recognize some or you might recognize all of them in your child. They have intense angry outbursts. They demand to know why. They can argue forever. They always want to be in charge or in control, and they refuse to do things unless they really want to. They can be super impatient. They love to make their own rules. They insist on getting what's due or what's owed to them. They're really good at it, ignoring warnings, and they love to move at their own pace. Now, if this happens to you some of the time, like once a month, maybe you don't have a strong-willed kid. But if it happens frequently, if it's happening all the time, and certainly if it's happening daily, you know for sure you've got a strong-willed child. So that's them. Let's talk about you for a second. Do you dread waking up in the morning because you know the day is just going to be full of meltdowns and more struggles? And do you walk around on eggshells with your strong-willed child, or do you just as a knee-jerk say no all the time? Or maybe you flip-flop in between those two parenting styles? And do you fall into bed at night feeling depleted, and then maybe you wake up in the middle of the night feeling worried about your strong-willed child's future, or maybe your whole family's well-being and happiness? These are some things parents have written to me over the years, and you can just nod along if any of them sound like you. I've tried everything, nothing works. I'm sick and tired of the battles. I can't tell you the last time I had a day with love and fun, one without regret, resentment, shame, or guilt. I secretly wish my kid was like other kids I see, and I feel so guilty about that. I sound just like my mother, even though I swore I'd be different. I often feel like a bad parent. I worry I'm creating emotional scars. And I feel helpless and out of control. I just want to have a happy home. Does any of that sound like you? And if you're totally honest deep down, are you terrified that you're just out of gas, out of ideas, and that your whole family is going to suffer long term if things don't change soon? If any of that sounds like you, if you've been nodding along and you feel like I'm talking directly to you, I am. Because I want to let you know, first of all, you are in the right place by coming to this class. And secondly, I want to let you know that there's actually good news. The good news is that all that stuff I was talking about, they're just symptoms. And that the real issue underneath the symptoms is that you haven't made what I call the shifts. You haven't made them yet, and I'm going to tell you what they are in this class. And once you make them, I guarantee that you'll be able to greet your days with optimism and confidence because you're going to know how to handle your kids' big emotions and set boundaries with your strong-willed child like a pro. You'll be able to relax in the evening and dream about the future, and you won't worry about it so much. You're going to feel like, I got this more and more day in and day out, and you'll be able to see your strong-willed child in a whole new light so you can stop for your wishing for them to be different. And you'll have what it takes to build a happy, healthy family. And your future gatherings, the ones that you have when you're older and your kids are adults, those holidays and things they come back for, they're going to be full of fun and full of love. And today I'm going to show you what those shifts are so you can feel calm, clear, and confident starting right now. All right, so I'm just going to quickly tell you how I came up with these shifts in the first place. So I started working with kids about 30 years ago, and they were all strong-willed or challenging in some way. So when I became a mom myself, I thought I was totally prepared. But the truth is, I was only half prepared. My kids were both strong-willed from day one, and I had tools for managing their behavior from my prior training. But there was a big piece missing for me. I didn't have the tools to manage my own emotions and reactions to their behavior. And honestly, my own kids triggered things from my own childhood, which had a lot of pain in it. And so as a result, I was unhappy with my own kids and I was edgy a lot. I didn't really know what was going on at the time. I just knew that I wasn't the calm, happy mom that I really wanted to be. But I just sucked it up and I kept telling myself we would all survive, even though I desperately wanted things to be better. And then one day I got a wake-up call. It was from my son, who was 2 at the time, and I was just sitting at the table having a cup of tea, and he came up to me out of nowhere and said, "Mommy, you're so sad." And it was so weird because I wasn't crying or doing anything. I was just sitting there. But you know how kids just blurt out the truth? And the truth is he was right. I wasn't happy. And my heart sank when he said this. And I felt like I'd been hit in the gut because the one thing I had promised myself when I became a mom was that I would create a happy home even though I hadn't been raised in one. And I knew that a happy home had to start with a happy mom, but I wasn't happy. And I clearly wasn't faking it very well. So that's when I knew I had some more work to do. I needed to put all the pieces together inside and out. So I learned a ton of tools for managing my own emotions and my own reactions, and I started to feel much better as I became the mom that I wanted to be inside and out. And I started teaching it to friends of mine, informally. And then I started teaching classes, parenting classes. And after a while, when I was teaching my inside out approach to other parents in my classes, and then I opened up my coaching practice, I found that my method worked for all parents. But the thing was, it worked especially well for parents who had strong-willed kids because I had originally designed it for my own strong-willed kid. So it was like a perfect fit for them. You know what I mean? And as I watched those parents thriving, I noticed that they were all taking the same 5 steps. It was like a formula. And that's the formula I'm going to share with you in this class. Because as you already know, raising a strong-willed child is a different game than raising an easy kid. And I want you to know how to play this game, and I want you to know how to play it well. So I call this formula the shifts, and we're just going to dive right in and get started with the first one. Shift number 1 is bad behavior is good. So I know this looks crazy and it might sound counterintuitive, but trust me, this is the mindset shift that is going to change everything for you. And it's also the secret to getting daily cooperation from your strong-willed child. So here's the deal. Bad behavior is actually a trail of clues. It's like a trail of breadcrumbs that can help you parent your strong-willed child like a ninja. Their behaviors are actually these invitations to parent and to discover positive tools that will work for them. Now, that doesn't mean that you let unacceptable behaviors slide and you just watch from the sidelines. It means that you learn to lean in and you get curious, not furious. Listen, it is totally possible to crack the code of your strong-willed child's behavior so you can get the cooperation you want and stop the constant battles. You don't have to bargain your way through parenthood or engage in endless negotiations. You can totally ditch the timeouts, the sticker charts, the magic 1, 2, 3, and all of that stuff that isn't working for your strong-willed child. And right now you might be like, okay, so I'm curious, but I don't really know what's going on. I mean, everything sets my kid off. I never know what to expect or when to expect it. I'm living with a ticking time bomb over here. Am I right? Are you nodding yes along with this? I can't see you, but if you're nodding yes along, let's figure out what's going on. So there are definite needs that are underlying your strong-willed child's quote unquote bad behavior. And the main ones are seeking attention, seeking power, looking for emotional connection. Maybe they have a physical need or more than one that's not being met. And then, of course, your emotional state, because your strong-willed child might also be sensitive and may react strongly to your emotions, just like I described in my own story about my own son. So you're gonna need skills to manage life with your strong-willed child so you can feel good inside and out. And here are the 2 essential skill sets that you need to parent your strong-willed child. Number 1, you need to be able to help them manage their emotions and their behavior, which I call the outer skills. And then the second one is to learn how to manage your own emotions and your own behavior, which I call the inner skills. And that brings us to step 2, which is get out of control. Okay, I know that this shift might sound weird because you might be like, Lainey, I'm already out of control. That's why I'm in this class in the first place. But what I mean by get out of control is to actually step out of the false beliefs that you might have about control. So there are 2 beliefs that you might have about control that are actually keeping you stuck. Number 1, maybe you believe that your child's behavior means that you are a good parent or a bad parent. And let's just address that straight up, because your child's behavior actually says more about your child than it does about you, period. But the thing is, how you react to your child's behavior may accidentally be making your child's behavior even worse, which makes you want to control more. So it becomes a cycle. Does that make sense? Okay. And number 2, maybe you believe that controlling your child now will help them control themselves in the future. And again, that's just not true. In fact, it's the opposite. The research is telling us again and again that kids who have controlling parents grow up to be less successful in school, work, and relationships, because those kids never actually learn how to control themselves because their parents are controlling everything. Does that make sense? Okay. So the big problem with control is that it is rooted in shame. Control is absolutely shame's tool. The research is telling us that it damages relationships. I'm talking about shame right now. Shame damages relationships, shame destroys self-esteem, and it ends up leaving emotional scars. And constantly trying to control your child puts you in constant power struggles. And I guarantee that unless you use scare tactics or toxic levels of shame, your strong-willed child will win all of the time, if not most of the time, because she or he has her whole self to put into that battle, and you just don't. You've got a million other things going on, right? You've got work and laundry and appointments and groceries and deadlines and sports and other kids if you've got them. And of course, you're always thinking in the back of your mind, what are we going to do for dinner? So in these moments, you are at a huge disadvantage, which is why you end up yelling or trying to bribe your way out of the hostage situation that you're now in with your strong-willed child. And so maybe you say things like, get your shoes on now, or else you're not going to that birthday party. Or maybe you say something like, if you put your shoes on now, we'll get ice cream later. Right? Why wouldn't you say those things? You're trying to get out of this situation and your back is against the wall. So these tactics are usually what was used with us, and that's why we grab them. The only problem is they don't work. They certainly don't work with a strong-willed child. I mean, maybe from time to time they work, but you know it's not a long-term strategy that you can rely on, and that if they haven't already grown out of it, they're going to grow out of it one day. And plus, at the end of the day, it just feels crappy to use all that stuff. And punishments don't work with strong-willed children either, because eventually they just don't care. They just want to win, and I'll touch on that in a minute. So right now, I want to give you some kryptonite to have in your back pocket so you can diffuse those power struggles on a dime. So here is the antidote to shame in all of its forms. You're going to want to drop the control and pick up this new antidote, secret weapon of empathy. When you step out of control and you step into empathy, you can totally drop the rope. Empathy is awesome. It is super powerful. It gets cooperation. It can stop meltdowns on a dime. and it definitely builds success, connection, and self-esteem in the long term. The only trick about it is that empathy is new to most of us because most of us weren't raised with it ourselves. Most of us were raised in that controlling shame situation that I described a moment ago. So I know for some of you, you've heard of empathy, you've read about it, and maybe you've tried using it with your strong-willed child, but you're still not getting the cooperation that you want. That's because you need tools that are going to be rooted in empathy, not just empathy itself. Empathy is not a complete strategy to discipline your strong-willed child. And don't worry, I'm going to give you some tools in the rest of the class, so definitely stay with me. This brings us to shift number 3, which is the new discipline formula, also known as the 3 C's, which I'll tell you what they are in a moment. So first I want to talk about why typical discipline doesn't work with strong-willed kids, okay? The thing about typical discipline, as I said, is that it's control that's rooted in shame, and those things, all of those tactics, trigger strong-willed kids into their fight or flight, right? It raises the temperature, all the yelling and the blame and the bribing and the nagging and the threats. They send your strong-willed child right into their fight or flight, and it taps into shame for them. And over time, that shame will affect your child and it will affect your relationship with them. And that's how those emotional scars happen, is over time. The other thing that happens with fight or flight with a strong-willed child is that they're ready to fight back most of the time, right? And as you know, they don't give up. They can outlast almost anybody. Their stamina is amazing. So one day they're going to make great lawyers and awesome business negotiators. But today we need them to cooperate a little bit more. I totally get it. So what do? Well, the thing that's going to work for your strong-willed child and for you is to invite them in, to onboard them is the word that I like to use. And for you to find a way to lean in so that you're in charge, but that you're not fighting for control with them. Okay, that is not going to work for you or for your strong-willed child. Okay, so what I want to do is first talk about how you're likely trying to solve most of the problems you have with your strong-willed child, and then I want to show you a new way. So classic scenarios for battles with your strong-willed kid are transitions, and an example for a 2-year-old could be cleaning up the Legos to moving on to having dinner. Fast forward for a 12-year-old, it could be stop texting with your friends to do homework or chores. The details really don't matter. The age doesn't really matter because being strong-willed is a personality type. Okay, so whatever's going on with your transition, you start by asking nicely. I know you do. You're a cool parent. You're trying to do the right thing. You're using your calmest voice. I get it. But what happens is they say no, or worse, they ignore you, which I hate being ignored. It feels terrible, right? So what happens? You ask again, but this time you have an edge in your voice. So it sounds something like, please clean up now. But that doesn't work either. So maybe you keep repeating yourself. Maybe you throw in a bribe, something like, clean up now and you'll get dessert, or a threat like stop texting or I'm taking your phone away. Or maybe you even sprinkle some shame in there, like stop being a bad boy and listen to me. And somewhere along the line, you probably started yelling. Now look, if you've ever said any of these things, it doesn't mean you're a bad parent or a bad person, okay? It just means you're stuck in a pattern. And we're going to unpack this pattern and then we're going to reset it, okay? So what happens next? Maybe they listen to you after all that stuff, but you feel terrible and you don't really know what happened. You don't really know what worked. So you're like, they only listen when I yell, or I don't know, maybe the bribe worked this time, or maybe it was a threat this time. I don't really know what happened or what worked. So you have no real way of knowing. And so the next time it happens, you feel like a rookie all over again and you just go straight to repeat. And now you've got a painful cycle on your hands. And so because you're a loving parent and you want things to feel better, you search for answers. You want answers, you want a solution, so you start looking. And then you get what I call the rabbit hole experience. Boom. You search the internet, you buy books, you read blogs. Those books sit on your, the edge of your bed or your desk for collecting dust because you don't have time or you're too tired to read them. You call your friends or your family for help. Maybe you ask your pediatrician. But the thing is, you get flooded with conflicting advice. And on top of it, you get judged that you're not even fixing the problem or that you have the problem in the first place. Or maybe you judge yourself. So instead of feeling better for trying to find an answer, you actually feel worse. You feel like a bad parent all over again. And you tell yourself things like, I wasn't cut out for this. They got the wrong parent, or I got the wrong kid, or I just can't do this anymore. You feel frustrated and you feel sad. And deep, deep down, you feel really, really worried. You feel worried about your strong willed child, about your other kids, and maybe even about your marriage or your own mental health. You want answers, but you still have all of these questions. And you want a strategy, but you keep hearing conflicting advice. And you want a solution that fits your family to put all the pieces together so you can feel great inside and out. I totally get you. So what I want to let you know is that there is a much, much better way. And it's what my tribe of parents has learned to do with their strong-willed kids. And again, I'm going to say again, this is a learned skill set. It does not come naturally for most people. And the new discipline formula is the 3 C's. And now you can see what they are: contain, connect, and coach. Contain your reactions, connect with your child, and then coach your child. Always in that order: contain, connect, and coach. That up there you're seeing, as I got lucky with the camera when our daughter was little. That's my husband and our daughter, and I was able to take a picture in real time of what it looked like for him to do this approach, and it just feels so much better than all the other stuff. And by the way, this is not how I was raised. It's not how my husband was raised. We had to learn and figure this out on our own. And again, I'm not perfect. He's not perfect. Our kids aren't perfect. We're just know how to do this and feel a lot better for it. Okay, so what happens now once you learn how to do the 3 C's is you have a whole new way, because you've started down a whole new path with your kids. So when you use the 3 C's, what happens next is you eliminate the meltdowns, you get more cooperation, and you get to stay in charge without fighting for control. And as a result of that, you feel more confident. Your whole family feels more connected. You guys are all more relaxed, you have more fun, and there's more harmony. And for those of you who didn't grow up in a happy home and you're trying to create something new, you're on your way to building a new family legacy. And I just want to talk about that for a second, because if you're somebody who's looking to end some kind of unhealthy generational cycle, you are not alone. The research says that a staggering 96% of us were raised with some kind of dysfunction in our first families. So you're totally in the majority here, and I'm right there with you. And I want you to know that it is possible, totally possible, to raise a happy family even if you weren't raised in one yourself. Of course it takes work, but it is possible. I see it every day, and I'm doing it myself. It is a huge source of pride for parents when they do this work and they're able to build those happy homes. There is nothing more satisfying or gratifying. It's amazing to watch your children grow up with healthy relationships, knowing that they're going to attract healthy partners when they grow up and raise their own kids in a new, healthy way one day. It makes your heart lighter and it lets your mind relax. It makes it easy to breathe and to sleep better at night. And that is parenting gold right there. I mean, imagine for a second how proud and empowered and light you would feel, knowing without a shadow of a doubt that you had healthy bonds with your kids and that they won't have to recover from their childhood. Well, the truth is, you don't have to just imagine it. You can have it, honestly. If others can do it, and if I can do it, so can you. So, this approach you're looking at works like magic once you get it down. I've seen it work time and time again, and I'll email it to you as a reminder, but I'm just going to be honest that it takes more than just a reminder up on your fridge to really learn it, okay? Which is what we're going to get into in the rest of the class. So just as a recap, because we've covered a lot of territory so far, shift number 1 is bad behavior is good. Shift number 2, get out of control. Step number 3 is the new discipline formula, which you now know are the 3 C's: contain, connect, and coach. Just for a little bit of inspiration, I want to tell you about a mom who we will call Gabby. I've changed her name for privacy. And Gabby was yelling so much at her 3 girls that her throat was physically hurting her at night. And her oldest daughter was a lot older than the other 2. And she told Gabby how all of the yelling had made her feel so scared and mad when she was a little girl. And this broke Gabby's heart because she was raised by a mom who was a total yeller and she had wanted to do it differently, but she just couldn't. And meanwhile, her youngest child, her strong-willed one, was driving her nuts. So after learning this new way of parenting, Gabby had these results. She said, I stopped yelling completely. There is no screaming in our home anymore. Now I know how to get my strong-willed child's cooperation without giving up my parental authority. And I rekindled my love for all of my girls, and I enjoy them so much more now. I am so happy to hear that from her. And a little more inspiration from a mom who we'll call Jen. She says, I used to be a total control freak. I worried all the time. I was at war with myself and with my kids. And after she learned these skills, her results were that she wrote, I don't yell anymore. It's so freeing. And now I'm the one my friends ask for parenting advice. I never imagined that would ever happen. And that brings us to step 4. Okay, so this step is the glue that holds everything that we've talked about so far together, because when you take this step, everything shifts. And here's the truth. Shifting your mindset and committing to thrive is crucial when you have a strong-willed child, because everything in our culture tells you to settle for crumbs. They give you all of this advice, which I call low-level thinking. They say, do whatever works. They'll survive. You'll survive. And oh, by the way, be grateful. Now, here's the thing about all of this stuff, okay? When things feel awful, telling yourself, I'm just going to do whatever works, or they'll survive, or I'm just going to be grateful for what is going well right now. When things really feel awful, that is not going to work to help you make the changes that you need to make to feel better. And look, I'm a huge fan of gratitude, okay? I say practice gratitude for sure. But if all you do is practice gratitude, or all you do is have this low-level thinking, you're going to end up being stuck. Does that make sense? So I say, yeah, do the gratitude, but at the same time, don't let go of your dream of having a happy family. And in fact, I want you to do even more than that. I want you to take a stand for your happy family. I want you to drop the survival mindset and adopt new beliefs. I want you to believe that you and your family can thrive. And I want you to also accept the fact that you've got a strong-willed kid and they require more. Yeah, it's harder than having an easy kid, but that's okay. You can learn to work with it and not against it, right? Because once you accept that reality, things will get easier and they will flow. Because when you stop struggling so much, you become free to learn those inner and outer skills so that you can parent your strong-willed child with confidence, ease, and joy. And I am here to tell you, you can totally create the family of your dreams. And I am just curious, what would that look like for you? I want you to really sit with that for a second. And I'm going to share with you, when I asked that question to some other parents, what they said. This is their vision of what this would look like for them, right? They said, I want to have our home, I want our home to be a place that feels loving and safe. I want to love spending time with my son again, said another mom. Another parent said, I want our daughter to be raised by a happy mommy. And this couple said, I want strong, healthy bonds with our kids. I want them to want to visit us when they're older. How about that? And what about you? What's your vision? What's your dream for your happy family? All right, here's some other inspiration for us to hold on to. This is from a mom who we'll call Amy, and she's got 2 boys, one of whom is super strong-willed, and Amy knew he was going to be a handful from day one and that he was going to trigger her personal past issues. And she wasn't able to stay calm with him inside or out. She was yelling all the time. She was in constant battles with him, and she ended her days feeling exhausted and filled with guilt and super anxious. She really wanted a parenting approach that was going to be totally different from how she was raised, so she could build her own beautiful new family legacy. And here's what happened when she learned all of the inner and outer skills. She said, I have incredible parenting tools now, things I didn't even know existed. My son melts down way less. We have more days full of fun. I feel more energized, relaxed, patient, and clear-headed. And then she wrote, and this one always gets me emotional. She wrote, I am now the mom that I wish I had. I feel at ease knowing my son won't have to recover from childhood. And that is just so beautiful. Sorry. And one last bit of inspiration from a dad who we'll call Mark. He and his wife have 4 challenging kids, and his wife is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and even with all of her skills, they were just at their wits' end with their kids. And once they learned this new approach to parenting, they were able to feel like they've got this. And they finally felt like they've got this even when they were cooped up at home during the coronavirus lockdown when everybody was staying at home. So that's awesome for them. Okay, and that takes us to our last shift, which is invest in training. Okay, so here's the deal. When you have a strong-willed child, training is essential because these skills that we've been talking about, they do not come naturally. And training is really an investment in you, in your family, and your family's future. Does that make sense? Okay. So why would you train? So parenting is just a skill, right? And strong-willed kids need extra skilled parents, as we've been talking about. And from where I sit, great parents are not born, they're trained. So the inner and outer skills that you need for your family's well-being are for everybody. They're not just for your strong-willed child. And I just want to say that anybody who's committed to getting better at anything is going to get some training of some sort. Okay. So it's like from the kid who needs math help to Yo-Yo Ma on his cello or to Oprah Winfrey, they all get help. And Michael Jordan, looking at him right there, of course he had natural talent, but he also trained harder than anybody at the gym. And plus, he had coaches to help make him as great as he was. So you have natural talent as a parent, and you also have a strong-willed child, which means you are in unfamiliar and sometimes scary territory. So your natural talent is only going to take you so far. And I just want to say that it's okay to get help. You got this far, right, by yourself, but it's okay to get help. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that you're a bad parent. In fact, I think the opposite is true. The truth is that getting help with your parenting means you're a good person and a loving parent. But I do want to let you know that you can only go so far alone, and you've gone so far alone, right? So I don't want you to keep doing it alone. It's just going to be slow and lonely and agonizing. You're not going to get the feedback that you need to get the best results that you want. I mean, could you make changes alone by now? Maybe, but honestly, if I'm just being honest right now, if you could have done it alone, you probably would have done it by now, right? And this isn't about you being smart or good. Of course you're smart and of course you're a good person. I have no doubt about that. But you're also stuck, which means it's time to get the best help that you can get from a trusted person who can show you the ropes so you can move forward. Does that make sense? In other words, take the shortcut. And when you take the shortcut, get the best help that you can get to do it because your family is totally worth it. And here's what I want you to look out for when you are looking for help. Find somebody who's a master teacher, somebody who knows how to explain things really well so that you are sure you understand it. Also, you want to work with somebody who knows strong-willed children. Try to find somebody who will work on your mindset because a lot of this stuff is inside your own head. You're also going to want to work with somebody who is going to hold you accountable without judging you. Also, somebody who has proven results from prior clients and who works with a wide perspective of material and isn't just trained in one way, one parenting approach, or one form of psychology. Okay? That's what you're going to look for, all those things. So now I just want to pause for a moment and give you a chance to ask yourself something really honest. Okay? Number one, how much energy are you currently spending on your strong-willed child? And by energy, I mean how much headspace, how much time, maybe resources. How much of it are you spending struggling and worrying, maybe apologizing, maybe making excuses for yourself or for your strong-willed child? And when you're really honest, how much longer can you go on like this? Think about all the energy this takes up in your whole life. If most of your energy is sucked up by 10 a.m., just getting out of the door with a kid who's refusing to budge every day, what do you have left for the rest of your day? What do you have left for your other kids at the end of the day? Or for your partner, or for your coworkers, or for yourself? And on the flip side, imagine how relieving and liberating it would feel to leave the house on time, to diffuse the meltdowns on a dime, and have energy for your other relationships and your other interests. What if your current parenting problems were resolved and they didn't dominate your life anymore? What would you do with all of that time and headspace? Would you read a book? Would you write a book, maybe? Would you watch a movie, reconnect with old friends? I don't know. I'm just curious. And I want you to be curious too, my friend, because the truth is, this is your life. And so if you need to course correct, I want you to start now. There's no waiting any longer. It's time to take smart action. And the truth is, at the end of the day, we get one shot at parenting each child, and they get one shot at their childhood. So let's make it count. All right, you with me? Cool. Let's go over the 5 shifts that we learned today to rock your parenting. And please, please stay because the free gift is coming up in a moment. Here are the 5 shifts. Number 1, bad behavior is good. Number 2, get out of control. Number 3, the new discipline formula, which you now know is the 3 C's: contain, connect, and coach. Number 4, commit to thrive. Number 5, invest in training. These 5 steps are the proven formula to parent your strong-willed child with confidence, ease, and joy. So now, my friend, you have an emotional choice to make. And most decisions in life are logical, but this one is purely a gut check. And I'm just going to be totally honest with you right now. Because the truth is, you can keep going the way you are now, but I'll tell you what we found is that parenting problems do not tend to get better. They tend to get worse when they're left unchecked. And what we know to be true is that you can extinguish a behavior, but you can't extinguish the need beneath it. So if you don't really handle the issue that's underneath the behavior, another problem behavior is just going to pop right back up and you're going to find yourself in the same hole all over again. It's like that game Whack-A-Mole, only it's your life. And it happens every day and it doesn't end. And so you try a new method or a sticker chart, but what happens is that when those things stop working and you go through failure after failure, day after day, you start to lose faith. Maybe you lose faith in yourself as a parent. Maybe you lose faith in your child that they can be happy. Maybe you lose faith in your whole family that you guys are on track to have a happy home. So you try again and again to get your child to behave better because deep down you want to have a more positive connection so you can have fun together and all that good stuff. But day after day, when the fights and the yelling continues, everyone ends up in tears, including you. And it becomes harder and harder to talk about this stuff with other people because they don't really understand what it means to have a strong-willed child. Or maybe they give you advice to punish them in a way that you've promised yourself you would never do. And then those people judge you. And then what do? Of course, you stop asking them for help. And then the outcome of that, though, is that you feel isolated. And that makes everything worse. And over time, what I've seen is that this affects parents, not just their parenting, but their whole lives. The stress will affect your body, your mind, and your spirit because, again, what I've seen happen over time is that the worry and the stress can turn into anxiety, which can lead to feelings of depression and shame and guilt that even though you know better and you want to do it differently, you can't make those changes stick. And that's the worst part of it, if you ask me, is knowing that you want to do it differently, knowing what you want to be doing, but being stuck in the way you're currently doing it. That awareness is so painful, and being stuck is so painful. I see it again and again with parents, and I've been there too, so I really, really know it. But there's another choice that you could make, right? Here's the other way. You could make a different choice to change. So if you're tired of dealing with all of that pain and you're really ready to step into your power and reclaim your sanity and finally feel like when you wake up in the morning that you can handle whatever's coming your way and that your kids are going to delight you some way every day and that you can get out of the house on time and have help with the chores and have a relationship with your child where you're not a dictator all the time and they're not fighting you all the time and it's fun in your house and the laughter outweighs the yelling until there's no more yelling. And when you review your day in your mind at the end of the day, or you're talking to your partner if you have a partner about your day, you're thinking and you're saying to yourselves, wow, we're doing a good job here. And your friends are going to ask you for parenting advice because they see the change in you. They see you laughing more and smiling and your shoulders are relaxed. They're not all bunched up by your ears. And they're like, I want to do what she's doing. And you're going to know without an ounce of doubt that your kids are going to be the ones who want to come home to visit you when they're older, and that your holiday gatherings are going to be filled with joy and love, not resentment, not guilt, none of that yucky stuff, because not only are you guys going to love each other, you're actually all going to like each other. You're actually going to feel confident in how you've raised them. And I just want you to imagine how that would feel to feel confident in yourself as a parent and your parenting, how it would feel to overcome one of the biggest problems in your life and throw off the weight of the generations before you if you're trying to do that. And the pride that you would feel knowing that you accomplished this amazing thing and that it was all because of your commitment and your dedication. If that's what you want, then I've got this for you. My team and I have set aside some time to speak with you personally about how you can apply these shifts into your life immediately. And listen, I know this can be hard to talk about, and I know that some of you might not have ever talked about this stuff before. I mean, maybe you're somebody whose life looks perfect on social media, or maybe your friends and family have easy kids and they don't parent the way you want to, or they've given you bad advice so you don't talk to them. But trust me, whatever your challenge is, we've seen it, we know how to handle it, and we won't judge it. Okay? We're going to look at what's working, we're going to look at what's not working, and where you want to go from here. And I guarantee you will feel heard and understood like never before. You're going to feel like a weight has been lifted off of you. This is what people tell us after every call, so I'm very confident saying it now. And just as a reminder, this call is totally free. The only thing is that it's really not for everybody. Here is who it is meant for. First of all, you've got to be somebody who is committed and coachable, which means fixing this problem needs to be a priority in your life and you're open to new ideas. Number two, you've got to be reflective. It just means that you have to see yourself as part of the solution. And number three, you've got to be someone who's looking for real results and a lasting solution, not just a quick fix or band-aids or a sticker chart. If that's what you're after, this session really is not for you. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound rude, but we're really over here building happy homes and new family legacies. So that's what we're doing over here. And if that's what you want, then we really want to have this session with you for sure. You're definitely going to get a ton out of this free session. So in case you're wondering why we're doing this, I'll just tell you straight up. We do it because we really love helping people create the families that they want, and we want you to thrive, not just survive. Also, we really know strong-willed kids, and they're a different game than the easy kids. So we want to help you, and we really feel like we're in this together. We know that this is the most important work in the world, and that what we do helps the world heal one family at a time. And it's so cool when somebody who had no confidence in their parenting at all tells us that they're now the ones that their friends ask for advice, or when somebody tells us that now they know how to handle their strong-willed child with confidence, ease, and joy. It's awesome. We just totally love it. And realistically speaking, some people do want my help to reach their dreams. And if that's true for you, cool, we can talk about it. And if it's not true for you, that's cool too. This free session, either way, is going to make you feel clear and totally awesome. So if that sounds good, and if you're in, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go over to my booking page. It's www.lainelipsky.com/call. And just make sure you spell my name right. It's LAINELIPSKY. And I'm going to try to make a little button appear here so you can just click that. But if it doesn't appear for you, you can just pop that link into your browser and it's going to work just fine. And if you're watching on your phone or something mobile, wait a few more seconds until the title screen comes up again, and you'll just tap that at the very end and that button will show up. So what will happen is that you'll be taken to our calendar, you'll select your time zone, and you'll pick your appointment time, and we call you at the time that you select, okay? No matter how you set this up, it is super, super easy. We've made it really easy for you. The calls are free, and as you can imagine, they go really quickly. They're given on a first come, first served basis, and we're a small team, so we have a limited number of spaces. So if you know you want to have this free session, please book one as soon as possible, okay? And if you don't see any openings, you can check back in tomorrow or in a day, and we'll make something work for you, okay? And I just want you to know that we are here for you with open arms, and we're so excited to have this free session with you. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming to class today. It was awesome being here with you, and I hope I get to talk to you soon. Take good care.